Hey everyone, it's Zahava. Welcome back to the channel. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to do this video because we are sitting outside the library right now in the library parking lot, and this library, it's like really hard to get a parking spot. So I figured we would just try and do the video if I could find a place to park, and I have, and it's plus 3 degrees Celsius outside, so it's very reasonable to go and take that big long walk from the parking lot to the entryway of the library. And I just thought that we would try and change it up a little bit, and I wanted to do kind of a library haul video, if that's such a thing, because I think at some point I saw somebody saying that they would love to see more library haul videos, and I just thought it would be like really fun to do that kind of thing. So I thought I would take you for a tour to one of my 2 local libraries and see if we can pick up 2 or 3 books that I can possibly read over the next 3 weeks, because I will have 21 days in which to read them, and I can renew up to 3 times as long as there are no holds. Now, I did not buy a whole bunch of books at the book outlet sale. I was able to restrain myself, pat. And on the last day of the sale, there were a few books that I saw that I really wasn't able to buy. So I thought that what I would do is we would just go and sort of peruse the aisle at the library and see if anything kind of just piques my interest as something that I had heard about or seen around BookTube and wanted to read. So come along with me if this is something that you're interested in seeing, and please make sure to like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, because it's free for you and it really helps me out. So without further ado, let's go into the library. And before we do that, I just want to say that I am not going to be talking because obviously it's the library. So we will be doing a nice little voiceover and then I'll show you the books that I came home with as soon as we get home. There's a big mound of snow here and the road is really slushy. That's a big pile of water. So hopefully I am not going to drop my phone in there, because that would be really unfortunate. That's our library, you guys. Got my little bag here. They've got this protected wood where in the summer you can go on their little trail. It's great for families with little kids that want to just walk in the woods and stuff. Also, it's like spring break, so there's going to be lots of kids at the library today. It may not have been the best day to come. This is also a protected green space, and there's lots of places for people to park their bikes. So the first thing I always go to when I come to the library are the new arrivals section, which is on the main floor. And here you will see novels, mostly detective novels or crime mystery novels, plus a bunch of nonfiction on the bottom. Here I saw a copy of The Wood at Midwinter, which I have feelings about. I listened to that on audio, and I will get back to you with my review on that book when I do the vlog. I'm just pulling out some titles here that I see have kind of interesting covers. I know that the one I just pulled out there is the 3rd in a series, which I'm unfamiliar with. My library also lends out board games, computer games. They have a great big section of DVDs and video games, and I think you can also rent some iPads and stuff. And this is the young readers middle grade section. And then we go upstairs. And as we go upstairs, we'll get to the adult section. So there are computers where people can sit down and private study rooms. Here we have all of the English crime mystery thriller books. You can see that they have like a little detective looking through a magnifying glass on the book spines of all of those books. And they've got quite a big selection because mystery crime thriller is a really popular genre. And it's not one that I read generally, but it's one that I'm hoping to read more of. And yeah, so they've got quite an impressive selection here. Next, I'm going to take you through some Arabic books because this library has a big selection of Arabic books. We also have a great big selection of Chinese books, which I believe is coming up next. Here they are. So there's Chinese books. It's a big aisle, I think, on both sides. And then following that, this library also has a big collection of Spanish language books for adults. So yeah, very multicultural library here. Very, very interesting. But I am going to be concentrating more on the general fiction, science fiction, fantasy section. There's a copy of Black Leopard, Red Wolf, which I really don't miss, you guys. I really don't miss that book. But these are also some of the newer books that have just come in to the library. So there's The Keeper of Lost Things and some other books of interest. And then this is just a view. Actually, in the back there, it's the French books. So the aisles that I am in, the ones immediately to my left and right, are the English books. And you'll see that dragon, that fiery dragon there, that denotes a fantasy title. And then if we see any ghost titles, ghost stickers on the back of the spines, those will be your horror ones. And then the spaceships will show you the science fiction ones, which we will see in a minute. So I already have a copy of Half a King, but it's good to know that the other two ones are there. And Leigh Bardugo's The Familiar, that's one that I think is probably on my radar, although I can't remember at this moment. And here's an Alice Hoffman. There were actually quite a lot of Alice Hoffman books at this library. I'm just going to show you them in a sec. It goes from the Dove Keepers all the way to, I don't know, there's got to be like a dozen there, maybe 10 or so, but there's quite a lot of Alice Hoffman at this particular library. We have a copy of In the Lives of Puppets and Under the Whispering Door from T.J. Klune. It's not an author I'm familiar with. There's The Ghost and the Spaceship. So that is a horror novel. That Which Should Not Be, and then The Void, it's by the same author. So one is a horror, the other one is a science fiction, which we saw because of the little spaceship on the spine. So that took a little time, you guys, but I did manage to get 3 books, which I'm really excited about because these were books that I had wanted to get at Book Market that I was not able to get because they sold out before I had a chance to check out in my cart. So it's fine because now I don't have to pay for them at all, and with a couple of these authors I can test them out for the first time. So I'm very excited and I can't wait to get home and show you guys what I picked. There's like a school right there, so really, really bad parking. We're parked like way over there behind that huge mound of snow. Say what you want for our municipality, but they don't really provide enough parking for the people that they want to partake of the library services. So it's not wow, because the students of this school do as they please. So I am back from the library, and actually when I got back from the library, there were 2 packages waiting for me at the bottom of the stairs. I'm excited to show you what I got. It's here. Okay, so let's get into it and see what I picked up. Now, all 3 of these books were books that I had at one point or another in my cart for the book outlet sale, but I wasn't fast enough I didn't check out fast enough to get them. Sometimes when they were showing as available and then I put them in my cart, it would tell me right away that it wasn't available because someone else had like snagged it in the interim. But these 3 books that I picked up were actually on my want to read, to be read list, and either I tried to buy them and couldn't, or what have you. So I'm really excited about my choices because 1 author I'm familiar with, 2 authors I'm not, but all 3 books are books that I have wanted to read, and enough blah blah. Let me show you what they are. So the first book that I picked up is Thistlefoot, which I think I just wanted to read based on the cover. I had read the Winter Night trilogy, which is sort of Russian inspired, as well as The Witch and the Tsar, which for me was a 5-star read. I really, really liked that one. And it was also Russian folklore. Yeah, so I don't know, maybe I'm just like in my Russian folklore era right now, but I really, really enjoyed those two. And I want to say that there was a third one that I read recently that also, oh yeah, it was When Among Crows, I think. No, was it that one? Oh my goodness, there was a third one. I want to say that there was a third one that I read that had some Russian inspired themes, but I can't remember the name of it right now. So anyway, if I think about it, if I find out what it is, I'll put it across the screen for you guys. But yeah, I mean, Thistlefoot is one that I have been so excited to read, and it is 425 pages or something like that. So this is actually the biggest book of my library haul, the thickest one. And yeah, I didn't want to get too many big books because I wanted to realistically be able to finish them in the next 3 weeks. The second book that I got is Bad Cree. So this one is a horror. It is also the only softcover book that I picked up, but I have been excited to read this one. Actually, this is one of the ones that I had in my cart and I wasn't able to get by the time I was ready to go and check out. All the copies that Book Outlet had were already gone. So now, you guys didn't see this, but when I was at the library, these books, the three that I have, are just books that stood out to me on the shelves, almost like they wanted to hop directly into my hand. I wasn't in particular looking for this book. I just happened to be standing in front of the shelf. And when I saw the title on the shelf, I was like, oh, yay, I wanted to read that. So I just grabbed it right away. It was totally serendipitous. I did not go into the library with any particular books in mind. I really just wanted to see what was going to pop out from the shelf for me, and it was 100% successful. The third book that I picked up is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Now, I know this is part one of a duology, but it's also the third T. Kingfisher book that I will be reading. I read A Sorceress Comes to Call. Is it the third or the second? I think it's going to be the second. It's because I own another one. I own Thornhedge, but I haven't read it yet. But I do have it, and we will get to that eventually. So this will be my second T. Kingfisher, I believe. And I was hesitant to buy it because it is a novella, and I didn't know if I would really like it. And I also knew that the library had both copies of this duology. So there was really no reason to spend money on it. I was able to wait to read it. So basically, I have these three books to read over the next 3 weeks, and I'm really happy about it because, again, it is going to be much cheaper for me to read. And you guys are probably thinking, and you would be right to think, well, you only got 3 books. And yeah, I only got 3 books because realistically, I don't think I can read more than 3 books in the next 3 weeks. I'm still in the middle of Here One Moment. I still haven't finished The Song of Achilles, which are both books that I'm reading right now. And I don't know if and when I'm going to get to those because these 3 right here are going to sort of have to sneak their way in. And also, I didn't want to take too many books because I don't want to be holding on to books that other people could be reading. So it is a library haul, it's a mini haul, but I think it's very, very doable. I will get back to you as soon as I have made my way through some or all of these books and let you know what I think of them. All right, you guys, so I just finished What Moves the Dead. It's certainly very interesting. I am actually not familiar with the Edgar Allan Poe story that this is based off of, but it did take me actually a few days longer to read than I was hoping for. I thought that I could finish this book in one sitting. It ended up taking me 3 days, I guess because I was really busy. But yeah, no, I definitely really enjoyed this one, and I'm going to be keeping my eye out for the second installment in this duology. I'll probably pick it up from the library as well. So now I'm just going to start either Bad Cree or Thistlefoot. This was a fantasy, so probably I'm going to go with Bad Cree next because that is a horror, although this was a horror too, so I don't know. I think there's a trend here, but yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Very well worth the read. Looking forward to reading the second one. I literally just finished it like 2 minutes ago, so I need to sit with it a little bit. So for a star rating, I'll probably give you that at the March wrap-up video because I need to sit and think about a star level for this one. But other than that, fantastic story. I can easily see myself reading T. Kingfisher's entire backlist. So Really happy about this. Looking forward to the next one. And I think I'm going to go ahead and start Bad Cree.
A few moments later.
So I actually started Bad Cree, and I don't know if it's the mood that I'm in or just the writing in the book itself, but I'm not really feeling it. So I'm gonna actually put it aside, and I started Thistlefoot just about a half an hour ago or something, and so far it's actually keeping my attention more so than Bad Cree. So I'm not really sure what it is about this book. Like I said, if it's my mood, if it's the writing itself, but Thistlefoot, this is doing it for me. This is doing it for me, you guys. I am in chapter 2. I'm starting chapter 2 right now. I love the writing. It's very description heavy, but in like a good way. And yeah, so far so good. So I'll keep you posted with how far I get with that. But you know, sometimes, I mean, with Bad Cree, it might not be a bad book. It just might be where I am in my mood this week. So let's continue on in Thistlefoot, and then I'll see if I pick up Bad Cree over the weekend. I already found a quote in Thistlefoot that I am putting into my commonplace journal, and it is, "Wallets flung their leather wings wide, cash fluttering toward Isaac in emerald flocks." And I can totally feel that and imagine that happening. So that to me is an example of really, really powerful writing that, you know, this was in regards to a street busker who had given a performance in New Orleans. And just so that you have a little bit of context, wallets flung their leather wings wide, cash fluttering toward Isaac in emerald flocks. Like, fantastic. So you guys, here's another quote straight on page 19, right at the beginning. It said, "Maybe she had no reason to be, but she could feel a long eel of dread swimming laps in her stomach nonetheless." I have literally had situations in my life where I could feel that long eel of dread swimming laps in my stomach. Like, what amazing writing. What beautiful writing that evokes all those feels.
3 days later.
All right, you guys, so this is my third time trying to record this portion of the vlog for you about Thistlefoot. I have made it 196 pages in, and I have some feelings about it. It's not going to be a DNF. I just want to let you guys know that right away. I'm definitely going to be finishing this book, but I am about 40% of the way through, almost 200 pages through. And I have some questions about this, the plot points in this book that have not been answered for me yet by the author. And I don't know if they're going to be answered or not, but I feel like at this point, they probably should have already been. And so basically, if you guys are unfamiliar with Thistlefoot, Thistlefoot is a sort of magical realism story that takes place actually in Vermont and New England as two siblings who are the descendants of the fictional Baba Yaga of folklore, of Slavic folklore, come into an inheritance from their great-great-grandmother, who is Baba Yaga, and she sends over from Russia this Baba Yaga house, which used to be hers, and it's about 70 years later, and the great-great-grandchildren inherit this house. And following this house from Russia is a nefarious figure called the Long Shadow Man, who is come over and is searching for this house. Now, we don't know what his motive is to search for it. That has not been divulged to me yet, or the audience yet this far into the story, but we know that these two siblings have inherited the house, and now they have to figure out what to do with this inheritance. Now, Bellatine is, I think she's probably in like her early 20s, and she has an older brother, a couple of years older, who's a vagrant, sort of a vagabond, an opportunist, a grifter, and he is now stuck with half this inheritance, as well as Bellatine, his sister, who spends her time sort of woodworking and has come to feel very, very at home in this house. However, her brother would like to sort of split the inheritance with her, and in order to do that, they work out a system where for about a year they'll travel around in the house, run out of it a puppet show, and then she will then buy his inheritance in the house. You know, after working for a year with her brother, she'll take over the house, he'll take the money that they earn doing their traveling puppet show, and he'll be on his merry way, leaving her with the house that she feels so at home in. The reason I bring this up is because they've decided to run this puppet show out of the house, and the house itself travels all across New England, and yet somehow is never seen. And the fact that the house is never seen as it travels across New England is not a question that the author answers, at least not that I have been able to discern. I know that they're using the house, and whenever they tell the house to run, the house gets up and runs, and yet somehow nobody in the entire region of New England ever sees this house moving. And I just find that the author could have addressed that. Like, it would have been a very easy thing to address, saying that the house could either, whenever it was moving, was invisible or something. And I feel that that was just like glossed over somehow. So it's leaving me with questions like, how is it that no one ever sees the house move, or no one is asking questions about why the house is on chicken legs when they do come in to see the puppet shows? I mean, yes, I can understand that there's an element of magic and people think that there are pulleys and strings when the puppets are moving, but no one is asking questions about why this house is moving along. And I find that a little bit weird, because the protagonists go through a lot of trouble to hide their magic from the general public. So as they hide their individual magics, and the author takes the pains to explain the reasons why our protagonists are hiding their individual magics from the general public, the author actually doesn't, at least as far as I am able to tell, take the time to explain why the house itself is not hidden from the general public, or at least is not hidden while it's moving about. So that kind of poses questions for me. It brings up holes in the plot for me. And also the long shadow man that is chasing the siblings and chasing the house. For some reason, even though they're going around passing out flyers, advertising their puppet shows that are taking place on the porch of this house and based out of this house, the man that's chasing them somehow doesn't know where they are. I don't know. It just, there's a couple of things that are just not working for me about this book, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad read at all. I'm definitely very, very much enjoying it. And I guess that it's the part of me that really likes fairy tales, really likes fantasy, really likes mythology and fables and folklore and things that are out of the ordinary, that is forgiving the book for glossing over that issue about why no one seems to see the house or ask questions about the house. Like, it's a little bizarre that that's the one thing the author has not sort of discussed or excused. I hope that I'm making sense, because like in my mind, if you're going to have this house and the house is going to be traveling, like, how does it travel? Where does it travel? Does it travel down I-91? Like, where is it going, and why is nobody seeing that? Or does it travel invisibly? Like, I mean, the author, she should have just, there should have been some attention given to that. And then I would have just accepted it. I would have accepted it as a fact of the story and the fact that there's magic in the story. But if the protagonists are working individually to hide their magic from the general public, should not the house and the fact that it moves around and nobody's asking questions about the chicken legs on this house, should that not have been addressed? Is it just me? So I don't know. I mean, that's my only sort of problem with the plot so far. Not the magic, not the fact that they're being followed, but just the fact that no one seems to notice the house or the bizarreness of the house or ask questions about the house when no excuse or no reason has been provided by the author as to why people don't see it. So that to me is a major hole in the plot, and I would have liked to see that answered, because I am, as I said, about 40% of the way through. I'm at like page 196, 197, and still I have no idea why it is that nobody has asked any questions about this house. So I don't know, because I'm asking questions. How has no one seen it? So like, I don't know. I just find it a little bit weird, but I will get back to you guys about where this goes. I really am enjoying the book so far. I really feel like I'm aiming towards, of course, it's very early for me to say, and you guys, if you've followed me for a minute, you know that sometimes it happens often with me that books will start out really, really strong, and then at the end, they end up being, a couple of star levels much lower. Sometimes I even end up really hating them by the end. So I don't want to say things, because that this can happen. So I don't want to say things too prematurely, but I had thought originally this was going to be a 5-star book for me, but because of that one issue of the author not addressing why nobody sees this house as it's traveling, that kind of brings it down a couple of notches for me, honestly, because it seems like a very evident problem that the author has just chosen, for whatever reason, not to address. So I would have had this book, on a 5-star level, but it's like not even going to reach it because of that for me. So we're going to be starting on like a 4-star level for this book, and then see if it gets lowered to a 3-star or a 3.5 or something along those lines. So yeah, I will keep you posted on how I go with this book. But other than that, I'm really liking the premise and the writing, and it's reading really fast, and the pages are pretty much turning on their own, which is a great, great thing. So all in all, so far so good, aside from that, those couple of little hiccups with the traveling house that are still problematic for me, but maybe it will be explained. I mean, we're almost halfway through. I feel like the house has done a lot of traveling since the beginning of the book when the protagonist first inherited it. The author could surprise me. I don't know. So let's keep going and let's see how it goes.
One eternity later.
So I've just finished Thistlefoot, and I actually like this book a lot better come the end than I thought I was going to, which is very interesting because I was kind of thinking this book would let me down, and in the end it didn't. I was actually crying a little bit at the end. There was just this like one moment with a guitar at the end of it that just like got me in all of the feels, and I was a little bit crying. So I just wanted to say that for me it ended up being a 4.5-star book. I really liked it. You definitely have to be interested in Russian folklore, in Jewish folklore, a little bit of Jewish history. But even so, I think that would only add to someone's enjoyment of this book and certainly not detract from it. So anyone who is interested in magical realism would get something out of this book. And I'm really, really happy that I went with it and I really enjoyed it. I will say that for the over 400 pages that it was and the timing in my life right now, I kept getting interrupted, oh my God, so many times that it was really, really hard for me to get into the story, which I think wasn't fair to the author. It wasn't fair to the book. It wasn't really fair to me either, or even to you guys by extension, because I've just had like a really, really busy week. In fact, today I actually shot, edited, and uploaded 2 videos for you guys. And it's just been like a really, really busy period. So I haven't had a lot of time to read. And when you don't have an hour in a day to really be by yourself and read a book and just get into the story, it can really take away from whether or not you enjoy the story or whether or not you even judge that the story is meant for you. So with that said, I still have not been able to make it past 20 pages in Bad Cree, and I think that that has mostly to do with my really heavy schedule right now. So when I'm at my most productive, it's usually in the mornings. And then by the time I'm able to sit down and read, because I have crossed all of my working and all of my tasks off my list, that's when the phone calls start to come in. People start to come home from work, from school, the doorbell rings, people are making deliveries, and then by the time all that is said and done, it's dinner time, and then you want to spend time with the family, and then it all just rinses and repeats the next day. I don't have time to read at night because I'm just too tired, and I don't want to start investing an hour into a book at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night because I'm just too tired and I'm not going to get anything out of it. So this has kind of been the rhythm that I've been in for the last couple of weeks, which is why it took me so long to finish Thistlefoot, and even by extension, why it took me so long to finish What Moves the Dead, even though that book was only 160 pages. So I don't want to be too premature in saying that I'm going to DNF Bad Cree because I don't really think that I've given it a fair shot. So this is actually going to be my project for tomorrow. I already have some other library loans that have come in, and I do have to go and pick those up at the library as well. I have What Feasts at Night has come in, and I also made a request at the library for The Spear Cuts Through Water. And I think that that's going to be coming in anytime soon because it really doesn't take more than a couple of days for it to transfer from one library to another. So I'm going to have 2 library books coming in as well, which I'm not going to do a separate library vlog on. I'm just going to put those in my regular reading vlog rotation for the month. But that being said, I'm going to hang on to Bad Cree a couple of days longer, and I could always renew it. I just want to make sure that I'm giving it an honest go. I don't want to say after 20 pages and a really hectic week, this book is not for me, because that's not fair to the book, and that's not fair to the story and the author and the whole process. So I'm going to hang on to this one. I'll try and get into it tomorrow. If I get to page 100 and I'm still not feeling it, at that point, I will feel very comfortable putting this one down and moving on to something else.
One eternity later.
All right, you guys. So sadly, as I suspected, Bad Cree is a DNF for me. I made it about 50 pages in and nothing is happening in the story. Like, it's just so slow moving that it can't help but lose my interest. It is reading well, the language is very accessible, and the pages are turning just fine. And so it's not like the book's fault, I don't think, but it's the mood of it. It's the deliberate teasing out of a slow, wanting to be mysterious plot, and it just isn't very plot heavy, plot centric. I don't even know if there is a plot, honestly. So if there is one, I can't find it. So unfortunately, this one is going to go back to the library not having been read, and somebody else will be able to enjoy it. So that being said, we are going to end the vlog here. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. If you have made it this far in the video, leave me a little emoji in the comments, a little waving hand to let me know that you guys are still here. I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you again in the next one. Ciao for now.